Lance Archer started his wrestling career in the early 2000s and was quickly signed by TNA. Lance would receive an initial push teaming with Kid Kash, where Lance would be known as Dallas, and the pair would win the NWA World Tag Team Championship together. He would then be sidelined and reduced to working dark matches when Kid Kash was suspended due to disagreements with TNA management.
Kid Kash he was great for me, and I think we kicked it off really well because I was a young, hungry kid. I shut my mouth and opened my ears, and he helped me out tremendously. We had a good tag team. It worked. The dynamic, it was always kind of that Shawn Michaels Diesel gimmick. He was obviously the Shawn in the situation. I was the Diesel in the situation, and it always has kind of worked in pro wrestling. And so we were working well as a team together. And again, I just wanted to learn and get better. Kash is very well known for being a little bit of a hothead, and he's very vocal when he wants to be vocal, when he feels that he's very passionate about his situation and his positions and what's going on in his career and so on and so forth. And, sometimes I wish I could be a little more Kid Kashish, maybe not as abrasive as he was sometimes, but, he would very much voiced his opinion on his situation several times. There was a couple times where they kind of separated us and had him doing his own thing, and I just kind of would disappear, and then I came back and we teamed together again for a little while, and then he said and did some very silly stuff and got himself released from the company, and all of a sudden I was by myself again. And like I said, then that kind of pushed towards the Raw Truth Killings team, and then ultimately Vince Russo was kind of one of the bookers, and he was a big fan of Jimmy Rave. And he was bringing Jimmy in, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to team you and Jimmy Rave together." I didn't know anything really about Jimmy. I knew that he'd done a lot of Ring of Honor and had done really well there. But we were very different, in our styles and looks and whatnot. So we got the rock and rave gimmick thrown on us. Me, Jimmy, and Christy had been teaming together, but we didn't have any direction. We didn't have any real character. We were just each other. And they literally threw it on us one day. He showed up, and Lynn Gilberti, Disco Inferno, was like, "Hey, did you guys hear what you're doing?" And we're like, "No, what are we doing?" And they're like, "Oh, well, so you guys think you're a real rock band, but you only play Guitar Hero." And, we were like, "Oh, you're trying to murder our careers." Okay. But then they were like, "Yeah, you're on all 3 tapings. You have live mic time. You have backstage segment stuff." And we're like, "Okay, this is more than we've ever got to do before, so we're going to try to capitalize on the best way we can." So we just had fun with it. It was very tongue-in-cheek.
After a brief stint in All Japan, Lance would be signed with WWE in 2009, where he would be given the name Vance Archer. Lance would only be in WWE for a year, and that year was largely uneventful. Lance would debut for the revived ECW brand, where he would have brief feuds with Tommy Dreamer and Shelton Benjamin, before becoming a guy who mostly loses until the failure that was the ECW revival would be put down. Lance would find himself released from his WWE contract in late 2010.
My short stint up north, and that didn't go very great. They chopped my hair off. My great story is so I had long hair down my back, I had the braided goatee, big biker jacket and everything. And I got brought up to TV, and then Vince and Johnny Ace, who were in charge at the time, were kind of looking at me in the ring at one moment, 5 minutes before the doors open. And Johnny was like, "Kid, come here." He's like, "What's up, Johnny?" He's like, "We're cutting your hair." I was like, "I'm on TV still tonight?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, that's cool. Let's do it." You have to go with the flow. And literally they chopped my hair off, shaved my face, yanked the jacket off of me, turned me into big guy number 3. But I had to do what I had to do, and again, my stint there was not very good, and it was over pretty quick. And then I got lucky and got to go to Japan. And you're talking about, I guess, maybe how did I find myself? And Japan was a really big proponent in helping me find who I always should have been, being that monster. I think it's what the business wanted of me. I just didn't know how to portray it. So other things were thrown at me, and I just kind of deal with them at the time. And when I went to Japan, Japan's very well known for its big gaijin. They're big foreigners, you know, the Vaders and the Stan Hansens and the Bruiser Brodies, and you mean the
Terry Gordy's, Dr. Death, you know.
That list goes on and on. And they love when they're just big and brutish, and you know, the Japanese people can't understand a word they're saying, and they want you, you know, Stan Hansen would literally go through the crowd with a cowbell and hit people with it and stuff like that. That's where kind of the advancement of the Murder Hawk Monster came from. I was going kind of by the moniker the American Psycho when I first started in Japan, but they were really good they would just basically be like, yeah, very good, more big, more strong, more monster. And they would say that all the time, more monster. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'll give you more monster. So like every time I went out there, and then going back to the working 18 times out of 21 days, I had time after time, you know, rep after rep, you know, it's like being in the studio and playing the same song, I would imagine, over and over and over. You figure out how to play it exactly like you want it and how you need it and want it to sound, because it starts off one way and probably comes out a complete different way by the time you're done with it. And that was kind of my path with becoming the Murder Hawk Monster. And you know, fast forward, you know, you're talking about the teams that I dealt with, me and Davey Boy Smith Jr., Harry Smith, we teamed for like 6 years, 2012 till 2019, almost 7 years.
Yeah.
You know, 3-time IWGP tag champs, 2-time NOAH GHC tag champs, 2-time NWA tag champs. We had a really successful, badass, the Killer Elite Squad was an amazing tag team. And that one kind of came about because Gato, who's the booker of New Japan, you know, I'd been there for about a year and they'd been wanting to bring Harry in. So they finally decided to, and he was like, hey, I'm going to put you guys together, these two big ass guys in, and you're just going to wreck shop. And that's what we did. They brought us in, they put us together, and within a month of the team forming, we were the IWGP Tag Team Champions. You know, you beat Tenzan and Kojima, two of the most legendary Japanese professional wrestlers ever. So it established us as a team, and that was just kind of what I was put in. You know, most of my career, like I said, are all these tag teams, which has been great. You know, Kurt Hawkins and I had a good tag team in WWE, even though it didn't really get to go anywhere. So I've just kind of been associated with tag teams all my career. And then fast forward to 2019, and Harry decided he was not going to work with New Japan anymore, and they put me in the G1 Climax. I've been in it several times before, but was just always kind of a food for fodder type guy. You know, I was just there to have matches. They knew what they thought they knew of me. And then in 2019, I got to have a match with Will Ospreay in their New Japan Cup. And they were blown away because they didn't know I could work that way. And I was like, well, you guys have never really given me that opportunity or that position. You know, I've been in these tag team matches for the last 7 years, and you know, every other match is a 10-man tag. It's like, I'm not going to go have those kind of matches like I can with Will Ospreay in a single situation. So then the G1 came around, and I wasn't even originally supposed to be in the G1, but they were doing it in Dallas, which was the first time the G1 had ever been outside of Japan. So they were really pushing for a big thing, and then somebody somewhere decided to put me in the full G1 tournament, and they paired me up with Ospreay in Dallas. We were literally the first G1 match ever to happen outside of Japan, you know, on foreign soil in Dallas, Texas, in front of my own home crowd. And again, you know, we'd already kind of set a bar from the New Japan Cup, and then we were able to blow that bar out of the bar. You know, because Will's amazing. Like, if you step in the ring and have a bad match with Will, there's something really wrong with you. But you know, everybody knew how good he was, and me being able to play my style, that was really the birth of the Murder Hawk Monster, because I changed my hair and my image and just kind of how I came to the ring and the mentality and everything. And that advancement, like I said, kind of started in 2011 when I got on with New Japan. And like I said, they were just like more big, more strong, more monster. And then over the almost 9 years I was there, I was able to kind of develop that mentality and understand who I always should have been in the business of professional wrestling.
Lance would join the Suzuki Gun stable, headed by none other than Minoru Suzuki. If you'd like to know more about Minoru Suzuki, and trust me, you do, make sure you check out that video on this channel and let us know down in the comments who you would like us to make a video on next.
I've been telling people on this channel to subscribe, and they won't.
Yes?
What can we do about that? Can you help me out? Maybe if you tell them to subscribe, they'll do it.
Threaten them. I'll threaten them for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. You don't have to do it or you're cursed. Wow. This is the champion. The Murder Bird, Lance Archer.
Murder Bird.
Murder Bird. That's what you call yourself. You gave yourself that moniker.
Murder Bird. Murder Bird.
What? What's the problem?
Murder Bird.
Yes, you keep saying your name. What?
Murder Bird.
What is it?
Murder Bird.
Murder Bird. See? Danhausen was correct. He said it like 12 times now. What's broken?
Murder Bird.
Anyways, you're very tall, very strong. Yes.
Right now I'm sitting.
What is this championship? Tell us.
Oh, hold on. This is the IWGP US Championship. It's fucking cool.
No swearing. How tall are you?
Very tall.
Taller than Danhausen?
Yes.
Edit that out. Anyways, next question. Who do you love?
Everybody.
Don't say my name. Who do you love?
Everybody.
He loves that Danhausen.
Murder Bird.
No, Danhausen.
Murder Bird.
Danhausen.
Murder Bird.
That's enough.
What?
You're out of here.
Okay.
You swore.
See you later.
Years and years ago, before TNA, before WWE, before any of all that stuff, an independent show in Dallas, Texas was doing a side stage for BFG. Or BFD, I don't know. It's one of those things. Sorry, guys. 97.1, I apologize.
It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit. I've been hitting the head a couple times. Anyway, we were one of the side stages instead of a band. We were back against the fence, and behind the fence were the green rooms. My match was one of the last matches on the show. There's probably about 2,000 people watching us. Most of them weren't wrestling fans, but were throwing beer and having a blast. We got done, and again, there's nobody behind us because the fence in the green room was there. We get done, they're setting up for the main stage. The main act for the night was Marilyn Manson, and this is when he was doing his Small World tour, years ago. Anyway, and we were just sitting there, we were kind of cleaning up, getting everything ready before his set came on when we were going to go watch it, and a representative came around and was like, excuse me, who's with the wrestler? And we're like, well, we are, and whatnot. And he was like, I'm with Manson. He was watching behind the fence during my match, and he sent his guy over to tell us that he enjoyed it, had fun, and telling us great job and stuff. It was really cool that right before Manson goes on stage to do his set, he sent somebody over to come tell us that he enjoyed watching us wrestle. And luckily right now, the wrestling business is booming because the fans are having fun. They're creating options. AEW is going to exist because the fan base has gotten so strong. Again, I've been lucky enough to be in this business for 18 and a half years. So I've seen the business on the independent level from a different perspective. You know, when WCW shut down way back in, 2000 or something like that, that was right as I was getting into the business. So, you know, you would go to indie shows, and if you got 100, 150 people at a show, you were lucky. You were happy. You were like, that was a big, amazing show. Now, so many shows are so strong with the fan base. You know, you go out to PWG out here all the time, and it's one of the companies that's just helping the business grow, but those things don't exist without the fan base, and the fan base is creating opportunities like AEW. Because obviously the Young Bucks and Cody and Hangman, all the elite guys, doing stuff like having the All-In show in Chicago, September last year? That doesn't happen unless the fan base supports it. And that's what's amazing and fun. So yeah, absolutely. AEW is helping change the face of the wrestling business because they're opening up opportunities. Because it's making not only WWE pay attention, I think, it's making New Japan pay attention. Making Ring of Honor pay attention. Ring of Honor signing guys like Brody King, who's from this area, right? You know, guys that...
Bandito, too.
Yeah, Bandito, amazing. You know, and it's one of those cool things that's opening up opportunities to see so much wrestling, so much amazing wrestling at different places and different levels, and fans just have to keep supporting them. If they keep doing it, they'll just keep growing.
Lance Archer, from New Japan, he will be debuting. He signed with AEW. He's going to debut on the next Dynamite, so which will be in my neck of the woods in Broomfield, Colorado.
Man, I tell you, I'm going to get him on the show, hopefully get him on. And I was in developmental with him, and he was got called up to WWE there. I think the ECW there briefly. I think it was ECW, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I never felt like he got a fair shake in WWE. He was always, man, a big guy. He can move. He's nice. He's liked by the guys. And he just was one of those guys that they really, I don't know, he got in on that shit list somehow where WWE just saw nothing in him supposedly and just was not used. And man, he left. I'd always see, and he went and he hustled and he busted his ass for fucking years here. And he would always be backstage at the Dallas shows and always get to see him and talk to him for a bit. And to see him finally get an opportunity to be back on TV and make some money makes me very happy, because anyone that I see that spends any time in this business, you want to see them walk away with a little money from it. So
yeah, it's a great get for AEW.
They need more big guys too. They definitely, so it is that is a very, very good pickup for them.
He's a good worker. He really is. And put him with Jake. Jake's a good mentor. The wrestling part, he's a good mentor. Don't tell him how to do the other stuff, Jake. Just tell him how to wrestle, and he's fine. Yeah, he was a good guy. I liked him.
I came to one of the TV tapings they were doing in Austin. I was signed with the company, but I hadn't debuted yet. And it was, a couple of different people were brought up, and Jake was the one that I felt matched the most with me, just physically and style and things like that. And I understood it. Like you said, the fans are a lot smarter, and we did have a lot of fans that knew the New Japan product, but AEW was still an American product, a Western product. And there were a lot of fans that hadn't watched New Japan. And I had been out of the American wrestling scene for like nearly 9 years. And even when I first started, like, people were like, "Oh, is that the dude from Rock and Rave from TNA?" Like, that's how far back they were thinking. They're like, "Oh my God, that was, 12, 15 years ago," or whatever it was when that happened. And so they hadn't seen me. They didn't know me. They didn't know this version of me. And Jake was, like you said, he's a legend. He's somebody that everybody knows and can associate with one way or another generationally. And he can talk like no other. And I like to believe that I can cut a pretty decent promo, and I've gotten a lot better at it, but that was never my strong suit. My strong suit was being that intimidating force in the ring. Jake was a guy that could cut that promo and tell your story without even doing anything physically. He's that legend. People know him, and people are paying attention to him. So when Jake first appeared and he's like, "I've got a client," everybody's like, "Oh, well, who's the client? Who's with Jake the Snake Roberts?" And there was a little bit of a buzz of different, people that they thought it might be. And, some people thought it was me. Some people thought it was different guys. And when I came out, it was kind of a big surprise. They had announced that I was with the company. And so now people are going, "Oh, well, maybe it's Lance. Maybe it's Lance." Those people knew who I was, but there were a lot of people that didn't know who I was. And so Jake helped that transition. And I knew that and understood that. It's one of those things, like, you're always wanting to prove yourself by yourself. But at the same time, I understood the importance of having somebody like Jake the Snake Roberts, who can voice who the Murder Hawk Monster is to a new audience that doesn't know me, doesn't know anything about me, what I've been doing in Japan or whatever. And if the few people that do remember me are going, "Oh, that's the Rock and Rave guy," well, now Jake can help explain that, no, I mean, that's the same human being, but it's not the same person at all. And I understood the importance of having somebody like Jake the Snake Roberts with me and helping me. And like I said, he's helped me tremendously, because people ask this all the time, what has Jake done the most for me, in our time together? And it's being able to speak. It's being able to voice who I am and what I want to say in a very good and strong way. I was used to the Japanese, like, we would do a match in Japan, and after the match, they'd have the cameras there. It was much more like sports, where, they had the post-game interview type scenario, and that's what it was. So you'd have a match and you'd come down, and it was just rah, 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 I'm the Murder Hawk Monster, and everybody died, just very loud, very strong. And they loved that because it scared the shit out of all the Japanese. Do we have time for a fun story?
We have plenty of time.
Yes. Okay, cool. So Bad Luck Fale, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Bad Luck Fale and I became good friends. There was, so he learned Japanese because he played professional rugby in Japan for like 11 years before he got into professional wrestling. So now he's in professional wrestling. And when I first showed up to New Japan, he was still what they call a young lion. But he kind of was the guy that helped translate for us a lot of times. It's like, if we needed to talk to somebody there, "Hey, Fale, come here, tell us what Lance needs." Or I'd go, "Hey, Fale, please ask them blah, blah, blah." And so, like, they didn't like us using Japanese. They wanted us to be, foreigners, and they wanted us to yell and scream. They didn't want anybody to understand us. But like, I was like, man, I really wanted to be able to say something in Japanese. So I was like, Fale, I'm like, after all my promos, I'm the American Psycho. I'm the one you should be afraid of. That's what I say. was like, well, how do I tell people like in Japanese, be afraid of me? He's like, oh yeah, okay. He goes, okay, now you have to get in the camera, and this is my best Fale impersonation. So Fale, if you're hearing this is you, brother. You gotta go. You gotta say, Ori wa chinko desu. I said, okay. And if there's any Japanese, they're gonna be like, oh. And so I was like, okay, I'll practice it. And then I never did it in front of the camera. But so like one night, like me and Fale and a few guys, we went out to Roppongi. And if you know Roppongi, you can get kind of crazy. And we're coming back in a taxi, and he's like, hey. He's like, practice now. I'm like, practice? He's like, yeah, say it to the taxi driver. So, you get, it's like, okay, what is it again? He's like, Ori wa chinko desu. So, but he's like, you're going to say it. So, okay. I say, hey, Ori wa chinko desu. Taxi driver looks, he's just driving. He goes, he laughs. And I look at Fale, and Fale is like, you're more strong, man. More. Okay. Hey, Ori wa chinko desu. And he goes, I'm just like, what's going on? He said, no, you did good. So the next day we're at his show, and Tiger Mask, who speaks pretty good English, I was like, hey, Tiger Mask. He's like, what's that? I was like, if I said to you, Ori wa chinko desu, what do you say? And he goes, why do you say that? And I go, what did I say? And he goes, you are dick. And I went, what? And I looked down, and Fale's he's on the ground and rolling laughing. He had me telling this taxi driver I was a dick. It's like, hey, taxi driver, I'm a dick. And he was trying to get me to say that on camera. And thank God I never said it. Like, I'm the American Psycho. Ori wa chinko desu. They'd have been like, what the? No, you're done, dude. And I was like, you son of a bitch. He got me.
I think the one thing that truly has helped me the most working with Jake is the ability to do this, to talk on the microphone, to voice the Murder Hawk Monster. Like I said, I learned my style in Japan, the strong style, the Murder Hawk Monster, and who he was when I step in the ring and through those ropes. But Jake was able to help me give my voice to the Murder Hawk Monster.
I've had opportunities, I didn't win them, but I've wrestled for two of our titles, the AEW World Championship and the TNT title 4 different times, and I don't know if there's any other wrestler that's had an opportunity to do that, so that's a real cool thing to be a part of. And again, it goes back to John Moxley. We wrestled a Texas Death Match in Dallas, Texas for the U.S. title. It's kind of my rematch that I never got, from back in the day, and I was able to win and become the U.S. champion again. It's a New Japan title, not an AEW title, but it was still an AEW main event on Dynamite in Dallas, Texas, in front of family and friends, people who've been watching me for 20 plus years.
It was nasty.
Yeah, it was fun, but I think that was probably my most proud moment, just because of where it was at and what we did and everything like that, and what it meant, with the connection between New Japan and everything like that. So probably one of the coolest moments I've had here.
Lance was off to a decent start in AEW, making it to the finals of a tournament to crown the first TNT championship, turning his feud with Moxley into an All Elite Wrestling World Championship program, and even reuniting with Suzuki to battle Moxley and Eddie Kingston in a lights-out street fight. But for many, the feeling was that AEW was not booking him as the true threat that his stature would normally command.
That's all. He just comes back, beats someone up, has a death match, and then loses.
Right.
What's
my problem? So Zach, the last time they had a Texas Death Match was when he beat Moxley, for the IWGP US Championship.
That's right.
Dynamite, yeah.
Okay, but here's my problem. I don't think anybody sees Lance Archer beating him.
No.
So we have that inherent problem already. We have a credibility factor. With so many other guys that you might think, well, he might have a chance. This guy has no chance. So why are we going back to Lance when you've done a bad job of pushing him? And this isn't gonna hurt. This isn't gonna help him unless they have the match of the year.
We as wrestlers can think anything we want, but you need to be given that opportunity. So do I think Lance has a bright future? 100%. It doesn't matter if he's in is main eventing AEW or if he's in Japan. But you got to be put in an opportunity. You got to be given circumstances where people use your talent, recognize what you do well, and take advantage of that. And let me just stop there. So before I start ranting about booking big men, but
that makes sense.
Yeah. Bottom line, he knows he's a monster. He knows how to be a monster. Hey, bookers, book him as a monster.
I've just done everything the way you're supposed to do it. I didn't kiss anybody's ass. I just came in, I kicked ass. I didn't play the political bullshit game. And what has it got me? Absolutely nothing. And I'm sick and fucking tired of it. You know what I could be doing. You know what I should be doing. So when I come back to the United States of America, when I come back to AEW, stop bullshitting me. Take the chains off the monster. Let me do what I'm supposed to do in this damn business. I've been putting up with a lot of bullshit. I should be on top of the game. I've been stuck in limbo year after year after year. Whether it's in New Japan Pro Wrestling, whether it's AEW, it doesn't matter where I've been. In limbo. No more. Never again. I change everything, or you get fucking dealt with.
Of course, this was a callback to the early matches that made Lance Archer, stand out as a prominent singles wrestler. A lot of his time he spent in tag teams or stables, but he had a couple of matches with Will Ospreay in 2019 that made him look really, really good. So it was cool for AEW to revisit that here, and I really enjoyed seeing it. I haven't seen the matches from 2019, although maybe as part of this video, I'll be revisiting them. I really like some of the big spots here. First off, him just dominating Ospreay for the first half of the match, slamming him all over the ring, looked really cool, and as it tends to do from Lance Archer. And then towards the end, we got some interesting developments. A top rope Spanish fly, and Lance Archer not only kicking out at one on the hidden blade, but flipping Will Ospreay off, showing real tenacity from Lance Archer and giving you a reason to be concerned the next time he shows up. He did not go down easily. This wasn't a squash match. Boy, everything before and after it may have suggested that, but this match had time to breathe. This match had time for spots. This match had time to make Lance Archer look good, and I thought for that, it deserved the high rating it got. There's a lot of other great videos on this channel, like this one. I suggest you go check them out. Make sure you join us for live streams every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And grave diggers, keep digging.
He is I and I am him, and I'm the undisputed trend Matt Taven. And this dork behind the camera, some Melvin told me to say, grave diggers keep on digging. Whatever that means.
I am AEW wrestler and Ring of Honor tag champ, Mike Bennett. And remember, grave diggers keep digging, but not the monster truck. Even though my son really likes that monster truck, I kind of like Son of a Digger, and so I'm going off on a tangent about monster trucks because my son really loves monster truck, but we're talking about the YouTube channel, so make sure, grave diggers, keep on digging, baby.
So this is Mark doing one happy private party, saying what up to the grave diggers, and you doing your thing, bro.
Alright, like, subscribe, and watch another video, or be cursed. If you're cursed, that means the grave diggers will keep digging your graves. So, you probably want to do it.